Hola YouTube, it's your girl Mamba here, and today's video is going to be my labor and delivery story. So if you guys have not seen my previous videos, I just gave birth on September 11, 2016, and my water broke a couple days before that on Labor Day. So this is the story. So if you guys want to know how my experience went, just keep watching. So it's Labor Day, and my boyfriend and I are visiting my mom, and we're sitting around the dining room table. My siblings are there, and all we're doing is talking about the baby shower coming up. We're watching YouTube videos, like spoofs on some superhero videos. It was really, really funny. And next thing you know, it's been about half an hour, and my boyfriend and I are like, okay, we gotta get out of here because we had some dinner plans. So the moment I stood up from the dining room chair, I felt just liquid flow right between my legs, and it was a lot. So I was like, okay, never felt anything like that before. And I thought for a second, if I would assume what water breaking would feel like, I would think it was this, but I didn't want to freak anyone out, and I was only 30 weeks pregnant. So I was just, all right, let me just go upstairs and see what's going on. So I just excused myself. I go upstairs, and after checking everything, I realized that it wasn't anything other than just water. It was completely odorless, and it wasn't urine, it wasn't blood, it wasn't anything like that. So I was like, okay, let me not jump to conclusions here. Let me go downstairs. Let me tell my mom what's going on. So when I go downstairs, I tell my mom, hey, listen, I need a change of clothes because I just have this amount of water that fell out of me, and I'm just completely drenched. So she's like, wait, what do you mean? And I tell her what's going on. She goes upstairs with me. She checks herself, and I could tell she's trying to stay calm the whole time, which is really hard for a Puerto Rican mom, but she managed to stay very calm throughout the situation, and she says, okay, we have to rush you into a hospital. So I was like, okay, before anything, let me just call up my doctor's office and see what they recommend or what's going on, or should I go to the doctor's office first? So I call the doctor's office. They page the doctor. The doctor calls me back. All while I'm still at my mother's house. And the doctor asked me a couple of questions, and she says, yes, I need you to immediately go into the hospital. I'm going to call ahead so that they know and they prepare for you. So I rush over to the hospital with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend the whole time is freaking out, but he's trying to stay calm. And it was so hard because I'm trying to stay calm. I'm sitting in the car. I'm still leaking, so I completely soaked the car seat. And he's driving, and I'm trying to be like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it, you know? I'm trying to stay calm the whole time. We go into the hospital, still leaking from the parking lot to the hospital to the admittance room, everything, okay? So when the nurses start checking me out, they confirm that my membrane has completely ruptured and I was losing a lot of water. So that's when the nurse tells me at that point that I'm going to be admitted into the hospital and I will not be leaving until the baby is delivered. So imagine getting all this information in such a short amount of time when you're only 30 weeks pregnant. I was low risk pregnancy. There was no reason for my water to break. And to this day, guys, we can't confirm why this happened. Thea was just adamant to be here. They did say that at times when this happens, it could be caused by an infection, but after all the testing, that was not the case. It was literally just Thea being a little pain in the ass and wanting to be here already, but turned out to be a great thing. So the first 24 hours, I was completely bedridden. Well, actually, I was bedridden the whole time I was in the hospital, but they had to pump magnesium into me in a large dosage, and I believe this was for the infection part, the possibility of the infection. So magnesium has a side effect where you feel like you're sick. You feel like you have a flu, so you have flu-like symptoms. I was having hot flashes. I felt my body weak. You know, I was so out of it. It was crazy, but that was for the first 24 hours. I also had to be injected with steroid shots because her lungs are underdeveloped, and in case she was delivered immediately, they needed to do this, and so it was a better thing for Thea. But can I tell you guys that steroid shots are the absolute worst things ever? Like, guys, I even had an epidural, and I still think the steroid shot was worse. I had to get it done twice, and they tell you, oh, when they inject you, oh, you're gonna feel a little bit of warmth. No, you feel like this burning, aching pain. It is terrible. So it's just, it was so bad. So the following few days in the hospital was terrible because I was bedridden. I had these things on my legs that kept squeezing them and loosening, squeezing them, and that's to avoid blood clogs because I was not allowed to be on my feet at all. Because my water had completely ruptured, there is a chance, and nurses have confirmed this that I was talking to, there is situations where when that happens that the baby can fall out, the umbilical cord can fall out. There is a bunch of things because she is much smaller. It was crazy. So I had to be in bed the whole time. My boyfriend and my mom stayed with me the first few days, and my boyfriend stayed with me the entire time I was in the hospital. And it was so hard. I had to be put on a catheter so I didn't have to go to the bathroom myself if I had to do number 2, which luckily I didn't have to experience because I guess I was just so mentally against it that I didn't have a bowel movement. But if you do have to do number 2, you had to do it in a bedpan, and I would be so humiliated if I had to in front of nurses. My boyfriend's there, just like, ugh. But luckily, you know, I didn't have to deal with that. I had to deal with the catheter, which wasn't fun either. When they had to when they had to insert it inside of me, that sucked. And I was being poked for blood work every few hours. Guys, my whole arm here was completely bruised up with band-aids. I had like all this adhesive still on me. I had it on my fist. They chewed up this arm, and they went on this arm, and it went on this arm. Guys, even in the middle of the night, they would wake you up for blood work. And I had a phobia for needles prior to this. I can tell you right now, I am cured of that as of this moment. You can poke me, you can take out blood whenever you want, because I was poked so much in the hospital that it literally cured me. So on and off, I was seeing my doctors in this whole process, and the doctor had confirmed that they wanted to keep Thea there for as long as possible, because the longer a baby is inside the belly, the better chances the baby has and less risks and stuff like that. So they were trying to push for as long as possible. So I was with her. I was admitted on September 5th. They were pushing for her to be 32 weeks pregnant. 32 weeks. And I was only 30 weeks pregnant, so they were pushing for 2 weeks. They said they would even go as far as 34 weeks, if more, if, you know, my condition allowed it. On September 11th, I was feeling contractions in the morning, and again, I wasn't 100% sure if they were contractions. The doctor had to describe to me what I would feel, but every time I would tell the nurse, hey, listen, I'm feeling like pain and all this stuff, she would just put the monitor on me to see if they could pick up any contractions. And she kept saying, oh, we're not picking up anything. We're not picking up anything. Now, it could have been that the first few contractions I felt within those first few days were just very minor. But on September 11th in the morning, I definitely started feeling them a lot stronger, and they were happening on and off a lot more often. So they put on the monitor, and for some reason, the monitor wasn't picking up any of my contractions. So she came in, she was like, we're not seeing anything. And I'm like, listen, I'm really feeling back pain here. I'm feeling lower ab pain. You know, I'm feeling like this tightness, but how is the monitor not picking this up? And she was like, oh, well, let's just leave it on for a little bit longer. She comes back about, 20 minutes later. She's like, oh, we're still not picking anything up. And I'm like, well, lady, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm feeling a lot of stuff here, and I'm really concerned at this point. So she's like, okay, I'll call the doctor. Doctor comes in and she does a full examination of me, and she confirms that I was dilating, and they had to immediately put me into surgery. Within 20 minutes, I'm being prepped for surgery, and my boyfriend's there. He's putting on those coverall things that they have in the hospital for their clothes and their boots. They're putting another catheter in me because I had a break from it for like a day or two, and they were putting fluids into my IB, like everything. They were even shaving that area to get ready because I was there for a couple of days, and I couldn't, go around doing all that stuff that we normally do. So it kind of surprised me how low she was shaving, because I thought that the C-section, where they place the C-section, or they do the C-section, was a little bit higher, closer, a little bit closer to your belly, when it's really actually like right on your pelvic area, like your pubic area, pretty much. They put me in the operating room. They had my boyfriend wait outside while they prepped me, and it seemed like a billion nurses and doctors were in there. It was a huge white room. They had a bunch of machines in there, as well as tools, and it was freezing in there. So they had to prepare me for the epidural. And this was the moment that I had been dreading, and I thought that I had some more time to mentally prepare myself for it. And you would think after being in the hospital for a few days, I had some time to prepare for it, but you're never really going to be fully ready for it. So they had me sit up on the edge of the table while the nurse in front of me was talking to me and explaining how everything was going to work. Then the specialist who inserts the epidural was behind me and kind of prepping my back. So he was starting to wipe it down with an alcohol pad or some sort. And the nurse in front of me told me to place my head on his chest and to keep my shoulders down. So that's what I did. I kind of laid my head, my forehead on his chest. He started like showing me how to keep my shoulders down, and I had to arch my back. So that's when you completely, like a cat, like, you know, you arch your back. So I'm trying to focus on keeping my heart rate down because I've had an episode where I went for a 1-day procedure and they had to put a needle inside my fist, and I was freaking out. So I ended up having a seizure, and that was the worst possible thing that can happen when you're about to deliver a baby. So I kept my heart rate down, breathing through it. The specialist told me where he was going to inject and when. And when it happened, it's almost like you take a really big breath, and it's a lot of pressure you feel. It is a bit painful, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Honestly, guys, the steroid shot was totally worse. And then when they inject the actual epidural into you, because first I think they put in the needle. It felt like they just put the needle first, and in a few seconds later, then they put in the epidural. Immediately I felt tingling on my legs, and I was numb from right under my breast down. And it happened within like milliseconds. It was crazy. Once they took the needle out, they had to pick up my legs to place it on the table and lay me down because already I had lost control of my lower body. So they brought in my boyfriend. They had me like laying almost like a cross. It was crazy. My arms were like spread out like this. And they put up that blue little sheet so that you don't see what's going on and everything, because they're probably going like Texas Chainsaw Massacre on you. And my boyfriend was right here by my head, and he was sitting down and he was talking to me. And as they go through the whole surgery, my boyfriend was just talking to me and trying to keep me calm. And I know he was doing this while he was also very nervous and scared. So he was just wonderful throughout the whole process. But, you know, I will say that the worst part about the C-section was not being able to pick up your legs or anything, because I was uncomfortable. My lower back was hurting me. And before they even started operating, I kind of wanted to adjust myself just a little bit. And it literally felt like they placed a house on me. It was so terrible, feeling like I felt my legs there. I wanted to move them, but I could not move them. That was probably the worst feeling. Next thing you know, I'm hearing the doctors talking, and they're very calm, and that's kind of soothing in a sense, where they don't seem like they're freaking out, and it's not like super quiet either. And me and my boyfriend are talking, and next thing you know, we hear Thea, and she made like this little scream, like this little yelp, and then she just stopped, and a nurse came over, and she had said to us, "Oh, mommy and daddy, you have a beautiful baby girl. Daddy can come over and take some pictures." So that's what he did. He went over, he took pictures, and he brought the pictures back. Well, he brought the phone back and showed me the pictures while they're still stitching me up and cleaning up everything that's going on. And then it was moved into another room to recover and kind of let the epidural, fade out. And it took about an hour or two. No, it took about an hour, I would say, and then I could actually move my legs again. So at that time, that's when I actually was able to focus on the pictures and see how beautiful she was, and she was super healthy and everything went well. And at that point, they brought me over to the NICU to see her in the incubator, but I couldn't really sit up or anything. Obviously, it just came out of surgery, so it was very limited what I could see, and I started kind of crying. I was a little bit of a mess at that point. But after that, guys, really, it went really fast at that point. I was on Percocets from that point on. It really, really helped with the pain. Like, guys, Percocets is where it's at, okay? I'm not telling you guys, and I'm not sponsoring anybody to go take Percocets when you don't need it, all right? That's for the hospital to give you a doctor, okay? But it was almost incredible to me that I was cut open that way and this little freaking pill was able to help numb some of that pain. You still feel terrible, don't get me wrong. You know, I couldn't like straighten up completely when I had to walk. I was kind of hunched over because I just felt like I would stretch it out. It was pretty painful in that. There was one time where I didn't take the Percocet when I was supposed to, and I waited too long between the hours that I was supposed to, and I really got a taste of what it really felt like, a raw surgery like that without without painkillers. Oh my God, worst pain I ever felt in my life. I don't know. I don't know how women back in the day used to do it, because I'm pretty sure the Percocets were not as strong or was even available during that time. Wow, that's crazy to me. So the next 4 days that I was in the hospital just recovering from the surgery, I was being, you know, I met up with a lactate nurse, and she was just teaching me how to breast pump and everything, and I started that in the hospital, and I'm still doing that now, and that's a whole other video. And I was able to go up and down to visit Thea. She was on the floor above me or below me, below me. And yeah, 4 days later, I was released from the hospital and came home. I'm still very limited to what I can do physically, but I was released with Percocet prescription and Motrin and everything. So yeah, it's been a slow recovery, but now here I am 3 weeks later, and I'm, well, a little more than 3 weeks at this point, and I'm feeling good. I'm not 100% yet. It's going to take a while before I'm 100% yet, but I can move around, and it just makes me happy that now when she comes home, I already kind of did my recovery, the most of my recovery, and I can focus on her when she gets home. So that's pretty much my labor and delivery story, guys. Not much to say after that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any comments or questions or want to share your experience, you can post that down below. I would love to read it. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can see upcoming videos. I love you guys, and I will check you out next time. Peace and chicken grease. Mwah.